Welcome to the Deck Dive. Today, we're jumping into Zechariah chapter 7. It's this really interesting passage. On the surface, it looks like people just asking a religious question.
Hmm.
But God's answer, it really digs deep, challenging what true devotion actually looks like. So let's unpack it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the scene, it's set in the fourth year of King Darius,
Yeah.
and you've got these representatives coming from Bethel.
Mm-hmm.
Their names are mentioned, Sherezer and Regem-Melech,
Okay.
and they're sent to Jerusalem to the priests and the prophets there. Their question is very specific. They've had 70 years of, well, hardship, the exile.
Yes. 70 years.
Yeah. And they have this tradition, mourning and fasting in the 5th month. They want to know, should we keep doing this?
Right. Seems practical enough, doesn't it? Times were tough. They fasted. Now things are looking up. Is the ritual still necessary?
Exactly.
But God doesn't just give them a straight answer, like a simple yes or no about the fasting.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He uses their question to confront them about something much bigger.
How?
Well, that's the surprise. He kind of turns the question back on everyone, not just the delegation, but all the people and the priests too. He asks them basically, look, when you fasted and mourned all these years, the 5th month, the 7th month, for 70 years, was it really for me? Was I the reason you were fasting?
Wow. Okay. So he immediately gets to their motivation. It wasn't just that they fasted, but why they fasted. Who was it for?
Precisely. And he throws in a parallel too. He says that, hey, when you were eating and drinking, weren't you just doing that for yourselves too?
So whether fasting or feasting, the question is, was it genuinely God-focused or just self-serving, going through the motions maybe, or just seeking their own comfort?
Exactly that. It highlights that tension.
So, okay, they ask about this one ritual, this fast, and
Yeah.
God pivots, completely pivots. He starts reminding them what he told them through the earlier prophets, like way back before the exile, when things were actually, prosperous.
And this is the core of it. He lays out what he actually wanted back then, and presumably still wants now. He says, administer true justice. Simple as that. Show mercy and compassion to one another.
Right.
Don't oppress the widow, the fatherless, the foreigner, or the poor. And crucially, don't plot evil against each other in your hearts.
That's a totally different conversation. They ask about fasting, and he hits them with justice, mercy, compassion, not mistreating the vulnerable, even the thoughts in their hearts. It's like he's saying, you guys are worried about the wrong thing entirely.
And the text explains why he needs to remind them. It looks back at how they reacted when God gave these instructions before, through those earlier prophets.
Okay, how did they react?
Not well. It says, but they refused to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
They stubbornly turned their backs, stopped up their ears.
Willful ignorance.
Yeah, and worse. They made their hearts as hard as flint. They just wouldn't listen to the law, wouldn't listen to the words God sent by his Spirit through the prophets.
So the fasting they're asking about now, this 70-year tradition, it happened during the consequences of that earlier refusal, that deafness.
That's the connection God makes. He draws a straight line.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't listen to his call for, basic justice and kindness.
Mm-hmm.
The consequences were dire. God says he was angry. When I called, they didn't listen. So when they called, I wouldn't listen, says the Lord Almighty.
Tit for tat, almost.
Almost.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I scattered them among the nations. The land was left desolate. That's the exile they were mourning during.
Okay, so the fasting ritual wasn't just happening. It was sitting on top of this history of ignoring the really fundamental things God cared about, how they treated each other, the state of their hearts.
Yes.
The ritual maybe became, I don't know, a substitute, or maybe just a distraction from what really mattered to God.
It seems that way. The outward religious practice got disconnected from the inward heart attitude. And the outward actions, the justice and mercy that God really wanted. It really makes you question, how much value did that 70 years of fasting actually have in God's eyes if the foundational stuff was being ignored?
Yeah. This deep dive into Zechariah 7, it really paints a stark picture, doesn't it? God prioritizing justice, mercy, the heart, way above a religious ritual done without, real obedience or the right why.
It definitely challenges any idea that just performing rituals is enough by itself. The value seems completely tied to the motivation behind it and whether it lines up with living out God's core commands about righteousness and compassion.
So thinking about this, if these ancient rituals were judged not just on the act, but on the heart and the actions that went with them, what does that maybe tell you, listening now, about the real meaning and value of your own practices, your own intentions today? It's definitely something worth mulling over.